Royce on all, and welcome to the latest episode of the Fearless in Devotion podcast. Myself, Andrew Pollard, with Andy Gil-peen and with Tim Edwards joining us today. We're going with a three-pronged attack today. There's a few absentees who I'm sure will be back next week, but there's plenty to get into, plenty to look back on, plenty to review, and plenty to preview. Firstly, though, to throw out a shout to our sponsors, the Fat Ball Group, the Fat Boy Mould and Wrexham, Hill Street Social, Carnivore, FAs, My Squin, the Bucking Banger on D, and the Croyce Howl. And also, of course, be sure to go and subscribe to the newsletter if you've not already. Lots of fantastic content there. And obviously we're off the back of a game against Leyton Orient, but there's a seemingly a bigger story to get into first before we get to that. And that is the Welsh League Cup news that's come out today, trickled out this morning, where Wrexham, Swansea, Cardiff, and Newport have held talks with the FAW about entering the Welsh League Cup, the Nathaniel MG Cup as it's known, where the winner gets a spot in the Europa Conference League. So not the Champions League, not the Europa League, the one that West Ham won a few years ago, basically. And that would remove the ability for those teams to qualify for Europe through the English system, which, I mean, realistically, that's you can do that by winning the FA Cup, the League Cup, or, qualifying through position in the Premier League. So something that's way off for all four of those teams. There's a lot to get into on this one, but it's very much a big talking point because there's ways it could benefit, obviously, the clubs involved, whether it's ourselves, whether it's the Welsh Premier League teams, and also the Welsh FAW. But then obviously there's other issues that come along with that. Now it's very much a 50-50 topic. Tim, we'll start with you. Because Andy, we'll come to you. There's loads to talk about Leyton Orient, where you can take centre stage. Tim, your initial thoughts on this possibility?
Well, it's generated a lot of debate already for a usual boring Sunday. It seems to be on everybody's lips. My personal take is, and my initial take was one of excitement, because I think unless you're a Wrexham fan of a certain age, a lot of the European nights have certainly passed me by. I was lucky to sort of be involved in the last one against, was it Petrelo Ploiesti?
Yeah, Romanian team where we drew
Yeah,
0-0 and then got beat 1-0.
yeah, I mean, it was at the home game, but never the away game. But a lot of the people you speak to tell you about how great those European nights were. Whether it's Porto or Roma, so many to choose from. So my initial thought was excitement. And the more the days worn on, I think, well, we need to kind of figure out where we are. And I'll read some tweets out in a bit, and I can understand the whole "you can't have your cake and eat it" scenario, which seems to be the phrase doing the rounds. You sort of lay in your bed, kind of that's tough the way it was. But someone made the point that we never actually got to defend our Welsh Cup, the last Welsh Cup win we had in '95. Never actually got the chance to defend it, because that's when the involvement of the Welsh teams in the EFL was kind of abruptly ended, really, seemingly out of nowhere. So,
I mean, that's clinging a little bit. That's reaching a little bit there, Tim. Like, well, 29 years ago, we didn't get a chance to defend it.
yeah, I know, and there's loads of people who have different ways of giving their thoughts, and there's loads of quite interesting viewpoints, very interesting viewpoints, has to be said, and I can fully understand everybody's kind of angle to it, but it's one of those, really. I think if you'd asked this almost 2 or 3 years ago, we'd all would have said, yeah, absolutely, without question. And you've then got to now weigh up the upward trajectory of the club. And I'm not saying for 1 minute we're going to finish top 6 Premier League. I'm not saying for 1 second we're going to win the FA Cup or the League Cup.
But you're saying there's a chance?
No, well, yeah, but if you'd have told us where we are now several years ago, we would have laughed. So anything's possible. I'm not getting ahead of myself. That's in my head. That's just not going to happen. So for me, it's like, well, this makes more sense to have that European adventure. There's a lot of terminology about improving the coefficient side of things, and giving it the sort of general boost for the Welsh Premier League. From other tweets I've read, it would seem to suggest that a lot of the WPL clubs are in favour of it. Obviously, there could be a lot of money cascading through. But yeah, my initial feeling is I'd love it. I would love those European nights. You see so many of the teams like Brighton and stuff. Yes, they've done it the right way in the Premier League, but it's an argument that's going to go on for some time until a decision is made on it.
Yeah, by all accounts from reading the reports today, there's the four clubs and the FAW have already presented their vision to the English FA, to UEFA, to the Premier League, and to clubs in the Cymru Premier. With, as you touched on there, Tim, the hope is that this would lead to an improvement in Wales' UEFA club coefficient, which in turn would increase prize money received by the FAW, which in theory, some of that would trickle down back into the Welsh football pyramid, which would be why some of the Welsh Premier League teams would be, well, happy to go along with this. Now, the last time the teams in the English leagues were able to feature, in the Welsh competition was the FAW Cup, which was the senior teams at least anyway, back in 2008 when that was scrapped. Competition which we won the most times, I should say, for five
Kept the
times.
club going, mate. I tell you
Yeah.
what, that money really did keep the club going. Some seasons, you know.
Yeah, we had that on top of that. There was the obviously 23 times we won the Welsh Cup, but the positives are it would bring more eyes to the competition. In theory, more money, TV deals, obviously gives teams like ourselves a chance of Europe. But then the other side of that is, it takes away so much for the other teams in the Welsh Premier. I mean, TNS kind of piss away the league most of the time. Obviously, Nomads have been there and thereabouts, but it's like it takes away the chance for, I don't know, an Aberystwyth Town necessarily to win it, because those four teams will go into it as favourites straight away. Andy, your general thoughts on this whole situation?
Like Tim, I'm excited. I'd love European nights back at the racecourse. I thought the women's team might be the first to sort of to taste that and bring it back home. But if the men could do it as well, that would be fantastic. Look, thinking about it logically, Tim in I don't know if Tim's disappeared, but in the live night, Humphrey Carr sort of suggested that he was working with the FAW on something and didn't really want to elaborate on it. Well, I reckon it's probably this. I also
sorry, Andy, just to tie in with that fact, one of the comments which I will read out shortly, somebody said maybe this is the reason why they kind of didn't speak out against the whole FA Cup replay thing.
Exactly what I was getting to next. Yeah, a mate of mine today, Bellis.
Yeah, they need the FA. They need the FA on board on this.
Yeah, and you look at that, speaking out on the FA Cup replays. Well, where we didn't speak out on the scrapping of FA Cup replays, because no FA Cup replays take away a little bit from the smaller teams financially, as well as the prestige of going to these bigger stadiums. And then we're in theory going to get dumped into this competition where this disadvantages the quote unquote smaller teams. So it's like, how long has this been in the work for? But sorry, Andy, I cut you off there. Tim, if you get some stuff ready, your quotes. But sorry, Andy, you carry on.
Look, you've got to think, how does this benefit Welsh football as a whole? Now, okay, so it's the League Cup. So say someone like Aberystwyth did win it, it's probably they went into they went into the knockout stages to get into the group stage for the Europa. They could go out straight away. They could be. So they might get, they win the cup and they get one really good game or one really good tie out of it. Now, if you think about all the matches that would be played between the likes of, I don't know, Cardiff and Connors Key Nomads and, I don't know, Llandudno and Wrexham, that sort of thing. Well, to be honest, there's a lot more interest in that whole competition before you even think about Europe. So you're getting packed stadiums in, down in Carnarvon. I mean, I don't know if these clubs would be involved because I don't really know where they are in a lot. I know a lot of the South Wales clubs are sort of dominating the league, really. But there's a lot more interest in these games. There's full houses before you even get to the European side. So I do sort of like the idea that this is somehow helping to grow not only the financial coffers but the standard. They're playing Wrexham, they're playing Cardiff, they're playing Swansea. That can only improve them and can only help them get better players, knowing that there's going to be those big showpiece sort of events. So I hope it would benefit all of football, and that's me being nice and philanthropic, But to be honest, selfishly, I'm desperate for it. What I tell you, who isn't desperate for it? My fucking bank manager. Because by the time I go to, Orient's down the road from me, but for many Wrexham fans, that's a big old trek. Now these Europa League conference things, they're going to be some far flung places. There's going to be, you're going to get Azerbaijani teams, Kazakhstan, all that's, if you look at West Ham's route, it's not all, it's not all Marseille. So yeah, there's going to be some very interesting trips should Wrexham ever do this. But look, the fact that this has been leaked now is very telling. The BBC won't be wrong about this. It's been leaked at a premium time. It looks like the negotiations are pretty far gone with this now. So if you got the Welsh FA on board, you've certainly got the 4 clubs, because why wouldn't they want this? I think it's really up to UEFA and the FA of England now of where this goes. I wouldn't be surprised if it sort of rocketed on a little bit. I'd love it. I'd love it. Of course I would. The only thing I'm thinking is, look, if we're in this stage now, like in the League One battle, where we're sort of hanging on a little bit after a good start. It's a very close league, and we could actually do really well this season. I mean, there's a lot of, and we'll come on to Orient about, not really having the ball, but still having a chance in the games. But if you add in European football, and it's a relentless campaign of traveling, of extra games in the week, on top of everything else, because we start the League Cup early, we start the FA Cup early. There's also the Johnston's, what's it called now? Is it the Bristol Street Motors Cup?
Yeah.
So it could be that they're playing twice a week all the time, and maybe even more than that. Maybe have to reschedule some games as well. So I think if this hit this season, would it be good for Wrexham in League One? Absolutely not.
I like the 2 things to jump on there: the fact that we're hanging on in second place, and the presumption that obviously we would win this tournament and we've been to Europe straight away. But
you know what? I'm only sort of playing devil's advocate, really. Yeah. If this happened this year, no, we're not ready for it. We couldn't cope. We couldn't cope with being in the new league plus all the extra traveling. But say we did establish ourselves in League One, and we weren't going to get relegated, but we weren't really bothering the top, which I know Ryan and Rob would never really want. Or we got to the Championship and it was the same. We were sort of stable mid-table. Well, the European would be a fantastic diversion from that, wouldn't it? Just to get in and play some European football would be if should we make it one season, it would be a brilliant sort of trips away, and some great memories there. It's mad, isn't it? I know Tim sort of touched on it. A couple of years ago we were in non-league, and now we're sort of second in League One, and we've got thinking of European football again.
You are. We haven't even been rubber stamped yet. You already planned your trips to Kazakhstan.
I'm booking my flights now.
Right, so Tim, you've been keeping an eye on this on social media today. What's any particular quotes you can pull there of, I guess, balancing the board 50-50 either side of the argument?
Yeah, I'll read out a few because a lot were similar in the whole can't have a cake and eat it thing, but
yeah.
Just a few. So Aunt Sally, not of the original Wheels of Gummies fame, but said no, we should be Welsh pyramid only, and also don't want the fixture congestion. Ali Davis said not for me. We need to earn the right through the league we're in. Seen us in Europe versus Porto, Roma, Zaragoza, etc. And we'd love to again, but only on merit. Matt Butler, we should be in the competition whether there's European football or not. I can totally understand Cymru Premier Irie EFL teams having their cake and eating it. But if it's allowed, it would be good for Welsh football. And wouldn't EFL teams rather represent Wales than England? I'll just do a few more. Don Burno, I can understand Cymru Prem teams not wanting 4 bigger fish in their pond. Worth mentioning, even if in hope that this doesn't necessarily take a European spot away if the coefficient improves. Plus, there are still European places up for grabs through the Welsh Cup and League. Matty Owen, all for the concept to help Welsh football. Maybe all squads should have a minimum of Welsh players in them. Would help the club keep an eye on developing local talent. Let's be fair, any team competing for England in Europe doesn't give that a thought. Wrexham, could you imagine the fume from other team supporters because we have to postpone Stockport away because we're playing Inter Milan at the San Siro? Is one of my my favourites.
And you thought I was taking things for granted.
I'll just read 2 more. So Nay has put, "Let's go. I'd rather watch us play Welsh teams than get bored with the EFL Cup." And then at Bruce Muck F at extinctionelephant.social, bit of a random one. If the EFL Welsh clubs are competing in the European Conference League, qualifying via the FAW Cup, the European, I'm not going to read all that. My head's already scrambled. Sorry, mate. But yeah, basically the upshot of it is he says that Welsh Premier League clubs would be entering a step higher in the European ECL qualifying rounds, which combined with a spot for both champion and runners-up could help with sponsorships. The Welsh EFL club in the ECL group stage is when ranking really jumps with benefits flowing to all parties. So everybody's had a really, really good debate about it, really. Nobody's just sort of slammed in and made, oh yeah, let's do it, why not? Everybody's kind of like weighed up the pros and cons to it, and not just purely from a selfish point of view, because we do have to look after the Welsh domestic league. You know, it's kind of feel like it's been on its ass for a while, and I think that's probably why they'll probably jump at the chance. You know, long term, there may well be the option of can it go back to the way it was if it doesn't work? Who knows? It's not the way the FAW work, but it's probably a kind of a Noel Mooney idea. And yeah, let's see if he wants to come back on to chat again. We had him a while back, didn't we, for 15 minutes? So let's get him on if this develops legs, for a want of a better phrase.
Right, we should get on to Orient. One last bit on the whole potential European football thing and the being part of the Welsh League Cup. It's, to me, obviously as a Wrexham fan, I'd like that. But you look at, I know Carnarvon Town, they got into it through a league playoff to the Conference League, so it wasn't through winning the cup. But it's like the moment they had against Crusaders was, and I'm not a Carnarvon fan. I mean, if I do have a Welsh Premier League team, it is Aberystwyth Town because I spent 5 years living down there. But just to see the moment Carnarvon had on penalties away at Crusaders, Mark Williams, ex-Wrexham, scoring the winning penalty, stuff like that. It's like there's the risk that's taken away from those teams. And I know that, yeah, obviously we're Wrexham fans. So I don't know. I mean, they did get turned over by Legia Warsaw in the next round. But again, the other side of that is Wrexham going to Legia Warsaw. That's a big old game. But we've talked about this enough. So we'll move on to some Orient adjacent topic, I guess, first and foremost, because for me, the biggest story, we'll get to the actual match itself, but Max Cleworth, of course. Going off injured, not looking very good. Parky saying afterwards that he's done his ACL, was it? No, ligaments, sorry, ligaments in his knee. And it was a case of seeing how severe it was. So Max is going to be missing a spell. We don't know how long a spell, but it doesn't sound good. So, Andy, you were there. What was the general feeling in the ground at that point in time? Because obviously you gutted it, and especially been probably, some would say, probably our best player this season.
Oh, I'd say he's the one who's adapted to League One quicker than most. The thing is with Max, he's never injured. He's never injured. So when he does go down, it's serious. And I think that we say it's ligaments in the knee. So if it's a strained ligament, that's one thing. If it's ruptured, then that's the season. So at least. You look at the Rodri injury for Man City. It seems quite similar. But Max sort of hobbled off. He wasn't on a stretcher. He was sort of clutching his knee as in total pain, if you know what I mean. He was just trying to sort of walk it off a little bit as he came off. So I'm hoping it could just be a strain, and that could be a matter of months. But what that does mean is it's a reshuffle at the back, and Dan Scar came on. And I still think he's going to be a very important player for us. And I wonder if O'Connell would move to the right hand side. And is there too much disruption there? Well, Max, as we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, has found some shooting boots, and he's scored a few goals for us. And even that, in a tight game like Orient, someone like Max finding a bit of space in the box could have been the difference. It's just sorry for him because everything was going so well, and that's football, though, isn't it? Just when you think everything's going brilliantly, something comes and bites you in the balls, and there you go.
Bites you in the balls. Oof. Tasty. It's you look at the Crawley game last weekend, where that was a very scrappy, stubborn Crawley team we played against, a very scrappy game. We had to fight for that, and it's Max that gets a bit of space in the box to get that winning goal. And that's, I mean, first and foremost, we wish him well in however long he's out for in his recovery, because Max Cloworth in that Wrexham team makes us look just adds so much to it, and especially for me. I know obviously we made some signings in the summer at the back that we probably would have expected to come in, but the fact that I think O'Connell, and Max as a three have just been. You can understand why Lewis Brunt, Will Boyle, Dan Scar aren't getting in the team, getting a look in. And so, yeah, to kind of follow on from what you said there, Andy, about what do we do from here? Does Owen O'Connell move out to the right again? Is it Dan Scar that comes in?
I think so. I think you brought him in for experience of helping a team up into the Championship. And what the Plymouth fella said when he came on a couple of weeks ago was that Dan Scar's a leader, and you can't have too many leaders in that team. When the chips are down like they were for certain times yesterday, you need someone to G up the players and lead by example. And I think Dan Scar is one of those sorts of players. The lovely balance we had with Tom O'Connor, Owen O'Connell, and Max was they're all quite good ball playing centre halves, and I think that sort of really helped our game and helped us really hold on to the ball a lot more. But I'll be honest, mate, over the last couple of weeks, there's been some matches where we haven't had a lot of the ball and we've had to repel a lot of attacks. And maybe Dan Scar will give us something different. And we say we lose Max in the other box, but Dan Scar's huge, so he's going to cause some problems in that way. I know we're going to go on to Leyton Orient, but there was a few things there.
Is it ankle? I thought it was ankle ligament damage.
Is it ankle? Is it rather than knee?
Yeah, I thought it was ankle ligament, but there's varying reports. Some people are saying a month, some people a bit longer. The only kind of saving grace that I can take from it is if it is longer, then it keeps kind of like the roving eyes of other interested parties away from him, because they won't be seeing him as the only sort of slight cloud if one exists. But I think he's going to get the best care, isn't he? It's just typical of him and Jordan. The two sort of homegrown prospects are the ones that are on the treatment table long term, it would seem. So yeah, did you see it back? I've seen the incident back. He basically he goes up for an aerial challenge, wins the header, shock surprise, comes back down, and he kind of lands on his opponent's boot. Kind of seems to have like land on his boot.
Oh, so it's an unnatural movement.
Yes, then, right? Yeah. Instead of landing flat, he kind of like lands like that. So that's what's tweaked it basically. When you walk in, you just roll your foot. It's like a more aggravated version of that, I'd imagine.
Well, you would hope that's a strain, then you would, because it's almost like if it's a rupture, it's sort of more of an impact injury. I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm not a physio. Let's move on.
Yeah, and I think for me,
I'm trying to like dig something out of nothing here.
I think as well, it was kind of more jarring as well that the fact of as soon as he landed, he stayed down. There was no trying to get up to chase after it. There was nothing. Yeah. It was just.
So he knew. Yeah,
exactly.
And as we say, Max never stays down for everything. No. What I'm trying to say about a rupture is that's like an extension, like a hyperextension maybe, and he's not had that. It's more of an impact injury, so hopefully it's a strain. Okay, I think I've managed to sort of point from there.
I was giving you time to think. That's all, mate. I was talking a bit to give you time to think and get your points together.
They put him straight in a protective boot, and he was on crutches at the services, so they're straight onto it. In terms of,
well, he's not in hospital having an operation, is he? He's traveling back with the team.
Exactly. And it's just a bit gutting, isn't it? Really, I was thinking about this. When was the last time you really gutted when a player got injured during the season? I wasn't even that upset when Arthur got injured a couple of, when we were coming up, and he was out for a short period of time, but we knew that quite early doors that he was going to play on with a mask. So I can't think when there was a player that
was pre-season, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like in the league. I kind of want to say it was Manny Smith or something like that.
Manny never recovered from that, did he?
No, the one with me, and it was I can't think what even competition it was. It wouldn't be the FA Trophy, whatever it was, some bollock competition where we were playing. Oh no, it was the Welsh Cup. After digging all that out, the FAW, are we playing TNS, and Wan Ugarte had come back. And he scored, and then he got in because it was that hope of like Wan's back, right? This is it. We're cooking with gas, and then he scores a little lob, if I remember rightly, on like a Tuesday night, and then he gets injured, and it's like, yeah, this isn't going to happen, is it? 'Cause obviously he'd gone to Crew and got all his injuries, and it's like that was one for me. And I guess another injury that stands out. Well, I guess there's two. There's Carlos when he did it. I think that was his ligaments or his Achilles or something, and that kind of meant that when it came time for Carlos to go, because we've been turned down offers, there was offers in the bank. By the time he ended up going and getting fit again, it was a free
The free
transfer. But
transfer. Yeah,
yeah, but one in terms of like not a fun injury because it's not a fun injury, but the whole Mark Cartwright injury against Burnley back in what 1998 would have been when it was Glenn Little playing for Burnley, went in on Mark Cartwright, our goalkeeper at the time, and did his knee. Mark Cartwright went off. We had no sub keepers on the bench, so
flight
Gareth
pick.
Owen. Yeah, Gareth Owen went in bench, went in goal. Mark Wilson came on loan from Man United for his debut, scored the winner, and Glenn Little to this day talks about how he's pinging the ball all the top corners on all set pieces against Gareth Owen and just was not having any of it. Yeah. So just another reason why Gareth Owen is such a Wrexham legend. But right, let's crack on and talk more widely about Leyton Orient nil, Wrexham nil. Andy, you went there. Me and Tim watched it. I watched it again from the Philippines, as it were. But just to be there, because for me, I
You
think
were there as well.
I was surprised I didn't see you in that
Thought I
bar,
saw
Tim.
you.
It's somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thought
Oh,
I
it's
saw
just
you.
some other guy with a mullet. But yeah, Andy, for being there, who stood out on a day? Because watching from afar, I thought, especially first half, again, Ryan Barnett was fantastic. But just for the match day experience, who any particular standout performers?
Right, first let's talk about the match day, as a whole. Loved it. Loads of my pals were contacting me over the last couple of weeks. Like, can we get to this game? And I managed to get quite a few tickets, and it was great to have such a disparate group of Wrexham fans there. A lot, some had never been before. My mate Lloyd, who's a West Ham fan, said he was absolutely amazed by the atmosphere. He couldn't get over the singing. He goes, at West Ham, they just call everyone a twat. But there's just a lot of he really liked the Men of Harlock. He really liked Wrexham is the name. We did the Welsh national anthem as well. He loved all that, and he said, actually, yeah, I know it's a stereotype, but you guys are quite good singers, aren't you? And I just said, mate, we're just 8 pints deep. Don't worry. We think we're quite musical, but probably we're not. So I loved it as a whole day. And Leyton is Orient as a whole is just a good old-fashioned football ground. I mean, Tim's been there a few times. We've managed to find a nice tap room before and a good real ale pub after. And I enjoyed the whole day as an experience, and I think everyone who came really enjoyed it as well. I think as a match, look, Orient pressed and pressed for the first 40 minutes, and really and truly should be at least 2 up. They missed some gilt-edged chances, and we were on the ropes a little bit. I think they blew themselves out, and the fact that they hadn't scored meant it was always going to look like we were going to nick the game. And I think, certainly in the last half an hour, they'd made some changes, some enforced, and we were all over them. I couldn't see it being any other way. It's just so great to be able to bring on Fletcher and Mullin.
Yeah.
So you get Marriott and Palmer to tie them out. I don't think Palmer had his best game. I think, again, it's where he gets a little bit when there's quick people around him and they're playing from the back. Palmer, it's quite hard for him to sort of chase things down, and that's not really his strong point. That so bringing Fletcher and Mullin on really changed the game, and I thought we were going to win it. But I know you said sort of who impressed. It's so great to have Gorgeous George back.
Yes.
He really came on well, and they sort of rejigged the midfield a little bit. George sat, Dobson went a bit further forward, and we looked a lot more effective there. But George is just, his range of passing, and he knows what he's going to do with it before he gets there. He's obviously got the long throw as well, which we didn't utilize yesterday, but might do in the future. So nice to see him back. Really was. I think Barnett did have a good game. I know there's been some Twitter discourse that he didn't, but I don't know.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
my word. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. But the back three were under a lot of pressure. And Arthur did well.
Yeah.
After a couple of shaky games, it was nice to see like the old sort of sure handling of Arthur's back. But yeah, nice. Ryan Barnett did all right. Nice to see George back. Thanks for Arthur, and more minutes in the leg of Mullin. I think Mullin, for me, there's a lot of should it been Marriott, should it been Mullin. I think coming on, Mullin had something to prove this time, and I think he put a really good shift in. And I know it's not quite going for him yet, but even the threat of him makes the opposition sort of stand back a little bit and maybe give us a bit more space. So yeah, I think he's getting closer and closer. What did he look like on the telly? I mean,
well, for Moles, he did. He looked angry, as he always does. He looked angry. He looked hungry. He looked ready. Just to quickly touch on George Evans, there was one pass in particular he played through to Dobson.
That was brilliant. Like, it just sort of arced its way through, and I was like, he's going to get it.
And it was, I think that was one of the few times in the game where Dobson is touch let him down slightly. I think he'd not quite read it quite right, but it was just the ball itself was brilliant. As for Moles, watching it from the Philippines, yeah, like I said, he came on to prove a point as he always does. I thought it was probably his best appearance so far this season in terms of off the bench. Maria, lots of running again in the first half. But you talk about Arthur, Tim, there was one save in particular. I'm not sure how much he knew about it, but it was just such a pivotal towards the end of the first half where there's the mad scramble in our penalty box. And you're thinking, like, because as Andy mentioned, Orient to me, first half should have been, could have been easily 1-2-0 up. But
I mean, that was the obvious. That was the obvious chance that they had. I mean, there's one that they dragged wide of the post. There's one that they just fired over. So that was the big one. And Arthur just did what he needed to do, which is to make himself look big. To be honest, it's not a great finish. I think if he puts it either side, it's probably a goal because of the speed it comes at him and it just gets a touch straight onto it. But great reaction save. And it's cleared out of there. That's the big thing, is how we react to that activity in the box. I think we got out of jail, really, to be honest. And I'm trying to be half glass full. Is we've been poor for 3 games realistically, but managed to eke out 4 points out of those 9. So it's it's a sign of a solid side. Like, if you can't really turn it on and dominate a team, then get something out of it. Yeah, we rode our luck, but then, as Richie Wellens, the Leyton Orient manager, said, probably the team who looked like they were going to go and win it was us. They tired, we made the subs. They kind of faltered a bit with a few injuries of their own, and we just finished strongly. It would have been very, very interesting to see how it would have panned out if Leyton Orient had took one of those chances away, because I think we would have played a little bit differently. I think there was a lot of lugging it up front aimlessly at times, which I found a little bit frustrating. I think Barney was the only one who was really trying to create something when he got the ball. There was a couple of times you could see the frustration in him. He was flashing across goal, but there was nobody there in the end of it. And you're thinking, yeah, well, he's providing the service, but we just looked a little bit leggy, a bit lethargic. But yeah, just an aside to that, there was a couple of tweets. I'll have a quick look to see what Leyton Orient fans thought of it. And one of the Orient fans, Matt Evans, said, Wrexham looked shambolic other than a 10-minute period in the second half. And Steve Chaplin dominated the game for 70 minutes. A combination of injuries plus their subs changed the momentum. Having said that, we should have made our superiority count. Wrexham, for the most part, were hoofball merchants who would struggle if they managed promotion this year. What are your thoughts?
I think we all know we'd struggle if we managed promotion. I think that is the key, though, isn't it? We can go to a bench and bring on Paul Mullin. We can bring on Stephen Fletcher. We can bring on George Evans, and not many other teams in League One can do that. And I think when you've got a bench that is just as good as your first team, that means that if you're not 1 or 2 behind in the first half away from home, you've always got a chance to win it. And I think towards the end, Orient were time wasting a little bit. I think they were shagged because they played Tuesday night, and I think they were more happy with a point than we were.
Yeah, the keeper was taking ages on his goal kicks.
He was, wasn't he?
And it was, you talk about, we had a chance to win at the end. There was Stephen Fletcher, I thought, again, another scramble towards the end, and I thought Fletcher had won it for us. But
we hit the post, didn't we?
Yeah.
We hit the post and also, the scramble as well, yeah.
But I do think it's fair play to him. I thought Leyton Orient were the better team. If I was a Leyton Orient fan, I'd be disappointed they didn't win that. But it is what it is. We've gone to there. We've had our backs against the wall, and we've come away with a point. Which, again, to talk about what we mentioned before, the grinding win against Crawley at the weekend. Birmingham, yeah, that was a bit of a lesson. That was meant against boys, and obviously they came from 2-0 down at the weekend against Peterborough to win 3-2, which at 2-0 down, it was like, well, they're going to win 3-2, aren't they? Well, to be fair, one of my mates was like, they're going to win this 4-2. But we're second in the league. We're behind Birmingham. It's all very happy days. Now, you talk about the atmosphere, Andy, and the chanting, the singing that Wrexham have, and your pal who was amazed by it, your West Ham fan who just calls everybody twats, was impressed by it. Which player do you think at the moment who doesn't have a chant deserves a chant?
There's, Cannon's got one, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yes.
Has Dobson got one?
Tim
Yeah,
tried. Tim's tried.
He's got the he's electric one.
Oh, all right, okay. Oh, so the only one that sort of jumps up straight away is O'Connell and maybe O'Connor.
I go with that.
It's not sexy to give a centre half a chant, though, really, is it?
Oh, Melvin, Pedrick, yeah, and the Beast, yeah. It's him. What about yourself?
Oh, I'm gonna go. I just kind of feel a little bit annoyed that the Ollie Palmer chant died away and then everybody just stuck with Ollie. I dislike the "we're fucking rich" chant because whilst we're rich, we're not like billionaire. Seriously.
We can't do that in League One. There's rich.
I just find it a bit crap. To be honest, it's like there's better things to be singing. And yeah, the Ollie thing, the whole, what was the one we used to sing about him when he first signed? I can't remember what it was now. Oh man, it's going to wind me up. Right, I'm going to come back to that because I will think of it. But I think Ollie kind of deserves another one. I know he's not didn't play great at the weekend, but I still think he's had a reasonable start to the season. And
he's a great front foot player. When you're at home, Ollie can really sort of turn the screw. And I do think we need a good performance either against Stevenage or against Northampton to really sort of turn the tide, because a win, a loss, and a draw in the last three, and we're still second. It does feel like we're holding on to that automatic promotion place a little bit rather than. But we all knew we're not really eating at that table this season, and to get into the playoffs would be a success.
We've had a good start, really. If you look at who we've played, the points return is ridiculously good. We dropped 7 points, I think, so far. Stockport had a little bit of a wobble. Lost last week and they drew at Barnsley. So you just got to grit it out. Like Parky, and the reason why so many people like Parky, whether it's via the documentary or otherwise, is that he's just candid in his post-match presses. There's no dressing it up. There's no trying to do what a lot of Prem managers, which is put a brave face on it. He just says, well, yeah, we went great, but we looked like we were going to do better. We looked like we were going to, win it at the end, but we're not at our fluid best. I like that. I like the honesty of a manager because we're seeing it with our own eyes. So there's no point in trying to pull the wool over.
When's the big change, and what is the big change going to be? Is it Mullins going to come back in for Marriott again? Is it? And now I know this is controversial. Do we need a change down the left-hand side? Should Revan come in for McClean, either dropped or moved inside into midfield?
I guess it's the perfect time to preview our upcoming games, because this is the first time in the league, I think, this season where we've got 2 games in the week. Obviously, we've got Tuesday, Stevenage away, then we've got Northampton at home on Saturday. Stevenage at the moment, 11th place in the league. They beat Charlton at the weekend 1-0 though, so not too bad. They're decent home form this season. They beat Shrewsbury or Slops for whatever that's worth. Beat Barnsley 3-0, but they did lose to Lincoln at 1-0 at one point. So, I mean, you're looking at our away form, or just our form in general. There is, Tim mentioned it about maybe it's not been the greatest 3 weeks. We did get the Crawley win. It was a poor performance at the weekend. Before that was Birmingham, which is kind of I kind of keep that as it's a different kind of beast because it's Birmingham. What do we think we do for Stevenage on Tuesday? Bear in mind we do have a game on Saturday that's of just of equal importance.
I would freshen it up. I think they did look a little bit leggy, and we've also got to say, look, it's 2 trips down south in the matter of days. It's a grind for anyone. I would change it. I would probably bring Seb Revan in because I just think that extra pace, especially away from home, is important. I would probably change it up front as well. I'm not a huge fan of Fletcher starting, but maybe maybe Ollie can't do 2 games in a week. I don't know. I would say probably not. So I think it may be Mullin, and maybe, I don't know, even you might even try and chuck Farl in again, just because it's different playing in a league game, and it's almost like a fresh start in many ways. And if he can, he's our record signing. He's a huge unit, absolutely huge. He's pacey. He seems like the perfect player who would work well away from home due to that extra pace, just maybe allowing their centre halves to having to drop a little bit. Now, I'm not a huge sort of expert on Stevenage, but they seem to me a very industrial side. So I think our sort of styles will sort of not clash, but it will be quite attritional. And I wonder if we are better at it than them.
Yeah,
because just because we should be, just to the caliber of players we've got.
You'd like to think so, but we'll have to see. I think on Tuesday, when I think Stevenage, I think the 5-0, the very first game in non-league, and it was all not doom and gloom, but it was like, oh, playing Stevenage ball. They spent loads of money. They're one of the favourites, and we just come down, and it was a really lovely sunny day, and we go smash them 5-0 with 10 men. Levi Mackin gets sent off after about an hour, I think it was, and it's like, this league is going to be piece of piss, and it took us 15 years to get out of it. But Tim, yourself, when you look at the game on Tuesday, what are you thinking? In particular, if Dan Scar does come in, does he go to that central defender role? And if he does Owen O'Connell start on the right, or does maybe Lewis Brunt come in?
Don't change two. You can't
Yeah,
change two.
yeah, I know. I think he's going to try and minimize, keep the sort of disruption to a bare minimum there. So I think it's probably going to be one. I don't know how fast Scar is, so you kind of compromising on a little bit of pace and sort of that ability to, because let's face it, we talk a lot about Max's defensive attributes, but that sometimes can overlook how good his passing ability is. And his passing ability going forward is incredible. We always go back to that through ball against Mansfield and stuff like that. So I'm not sure. I haven't seen enough of Dan Sky yet to see whether that's going to be a like for like kind of situation. Regards to the captaincy as well, let's just assume that Marriott continues in that spot, and let's just assume for the sake of it that McClean is swapped out. So who gets the captaincy? Does it go to O'Connell? I think it's been to O'Connell before by default. So you keep him in there in that regard. Yeah, so you kind of got to it's the first time this season where I think Parky's really got to go, yeah, right, the games are going to start coming thick and fast now, and we're going to get some injuries. That's why you assemble a squad with such strength and depth. So now is the time to really utilize it and see what we're all about. Slot in there. Scar's said all along he's been waiting for his time to come along. He's going to have it. Again, probably haven't seen enough for Brunt at the moment to make a truly informed decision. Obviously, Mansfield spoke very highly of him, did well with them. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some sort of game time within the next week, 100%. But yeah, I think Scar comes in and probably would take that middle berth and move O'Connell out to the right. I think that's probably going to be the most sensible solution. And then McClean, we always say it that he's not going to drop him, but I just didn't quite do it for me on Saturday. I'm not sure. Don't know. Just maybe he's got a lot of minutes already. Maybe a little bit of a break will do him doing good ahead of the following Saturday. So I don't know. I think that it's going to be, there'll be a few changes, but I don't think there's going to be too many. There'll be 2 or 3 maximum. I think nothing that's going to disrupt it too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's Saturday, it's Northampton at home. We can't really preview it too much until we know what happens on Tuesday. So obviously we're kind of in a bit of a rut on that. But at the moment that they are 17th in the league, obviously Northampton are a team that special place in the hearts of Wrexham fans of a certain vintage. For 1993, Gary Bennett 2 goals on a Tuesday night to get us promotion. But they've got Bolton on Tuesday night as well. They lost to Mansfield 2-0 on Saturday. They've not travelled well so far this season. They lost to Cheltenham 2-0. They lost to Bristol Rovers 1-0. They 2-2 draw with Barnsley, and then they got turned over 3-1 by Huddersfield. So to me, that looks like, obviously they're not a team that travels too well at the moment. They're 17th. It's a game where you want to go out and make a statement, really. It's there for you. But again, it all depends how we get on Tuesday as to what the team lineup looks like, I don't know. It just seems it's there.
It seems the more winnable game, Andrew, doesn't it? And,
Yes.
winning against Northampton means a draw at Stevenage is a great result. And, maybe a draw at Stevenage is a great result, whatever happens, because you go away and you don't get beat. You're playing the percentages there, aren't you? And in a tight league, that's going to stand you in good stead. And Parky he's a percentage manager. He knows what we do need to get out of League One. And sometimes we feel that he doesn't go for the jugular enough, or is maybe a little bit too defensive. But at the end of the day, he's got us promoted twice. So, maybe he knows better than us.
Exactly, and we're sitting pretty in second. It's like,
but he's doing it over a whole season. While we're fans, we go from week to week. We win, everyone's brilliant. We lose, everyone's crap. That's just the nature of football.
I've just remembered the Ollie Palmer chant, by the way.
Go on.
But the reason it's probably not sang anymore is because the last line is now null and void. But it was to Belinda Carlisle's "Heaven is a Place on Earth."
Geez,
so,
yeah.
Who Parky do you know what it's worth? Ollie Palmer is the best on earth. A lanky striker is what we need, taking Wrexham to the Football League. So that's why Ollie Palmer deserves a better.
Okay, we'll change it to the Europa League.
Take Wrexham to the Europa League, yeah, maybe.
Oh,
we need something that's going to rhyme with championship.
I don't know. I feel like Tim's going to dig out his Oasis Guitar Tabs book and work out another song any day soon. But moving away from the men's team, the Wrexham Women's played today. Wrexham Women against Swansea at the racecourse, the Stoke Kairas. It was another defeat, but there was a lot of positives to take away from it. I mean, it was 3-1 to Swansea. First probably half hour, it was very much Swansea. Wrexham, obviously Swansea going 1-0 up. Wrexham getting an equaliser from Ava Suckley just after half an hour. Really nice finish. Abby Hiddenden did well to win the loose ball. A really nice little pirouette to lay it off to Ava. Second half was promising until probably about the 70th minute, and then Swansea seemed to kind of step up a gear. And it's one of them where it's 3 losses on the bounce for Wrexham Women, but I like I said, I think there's a lot to take away from this one in terms of performance, because Swansea, they are a team we've never beat. They're a team who's 6-time champions. We played Cardiff first game, who are the champions. You've got Britain Ferry second game, who are currently top. They won 5-0 today. So what do we think about that so far? I mean, it's a case of there's no reason for panic, I don't think. And the next game is Aberystwyth Town, who are bottom of the league, and
See, that's a really tough start. That's a really tough start. I mean, Rosie Hughes didn't start that game, did she?
No, she was on the bench. Came on because there was a lot of subs made by Steve Dale throughout the game, and they all impacted it in various ways. But Rosie didn't come on until the 85th minute. At the time, it was sorry, it's been logged out one of my things, my computer. That's what I'm dabbling with. It was 3-1 at the time. She came on in the 85th minute, scored in the 89th minute. I had a chance before that, and I had a really, really good chance after that. There was a Swansea defender, I think her name was Jess Williams, who Rosie had gone past the keeper, and it was literally not even 2 yards, like literally a yard from the goal, and it was just a great block, an absolutely brilliant block, where it's like you credit the defender there, not a case of the striker. But yeah, she came on the 85th minute, scored 89th, had a couple of chances, looked very lively. I'm not sure if there was an injury there or not. There was no reports out there of an injury, so I don't know if it's just a case of, we've had two games at the start of the season that haven't gone so well, so change things up.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they lose the next match, then it'll be a little bit, something's not quite right. Like I said, chasing in sort of starts of the season, broke the scoring duck. That's the plus point. But yeah, a bit of pressure, I suppose, on playing bottom of the league to really get a result. So hopefully it doesn't affect them too much. It's weird, isn't it? It's like Wrexham have gone from being Wrexham men's team have gone from one that's been used to kind of relentless depression and defeats to a winning machine, and the women's team, they've been used to winning in recent times and getting promoted and so on and so forth. Now they're having a bit of a lull, so it's just part of the game, isn't it? So it's how you get through those sticky periods, and you learn a lot about yourself, about the team morale and the spirit in the camp. I'm sure they'll get through it. I'm sure they will. It's just the spotlight's a bit more on it because it's the start of the season. If this had happened in another month or 6 weeks, it's like, yeah, we've got points on the board, not doing too bad. But because it's at the start, because we haven't won yet, it's a bit, we need to get something quite right here because it's not quite clicking. But they don't become a bad team or a bad management team overnight. So I'm sure it'll start clicking into the gears.
No, exactly. It was, unfortunately, it was all 3 goals for Swansea were brought into the box, 2 set pieces, one just a really good cross, actually. Gil-peen for Swansea Pinder just put a couple of really good balls in throughout the game, and they had Stacey John Davis up front for them, was so lively, just constantly looking to get in. Scored the first goal with a great header. But yeah, I guess we'll go into predictions before we start to wrap things up. I guess while we're talking about the ladies, gents, a prediction for Wrexham Women against Aberystwyth Town Women.
Is it home or away? It's away, yeah.
It's away, yeah. Bit of a trek.
They just need to get something on the board. Even a draw now would just stop that sort of losing rot. I'd like to think that they might be able to pull something out of the bag there and maybe 2-1.
Tim?
2-0.
Oh, right. Son of a gun. That's exactly what I was going to go with. You know what? 3-0. I'm going crazy. We'll go 3. And
Andrew Pollard in 3-0 Wrexham win. Shocker.
What a shocker. But Stevenage for the men on Tuesday, obviously away. What are we going with there? We'll start with you on this one, Tim.
We need to do a segment saying, what would Rhys Williams say? Because he would have gone for a loss.
4-0 Stevenage.
So what we're doing? We're doing Stevenage first. And
I mean, it's up to you, Tim. I don't mind. We can go both at the same time, or
we'll do them separately. We'll go around the room once, then twice. So I think Stevenage. I think it'll be a draw. I think it'll be 2 each. Don't know why. I just think that initial disruption in the defence will take a little bit of time to iron out. So I'll go for 2-2, which again is never a bad thing on the road.
Andy?
I'm delighted with a draw. I think it might be 1 each.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, one of those things where we take the lead and then they maybe peg us back late on. But yeah, are you going 3-0, Wrexham?
No, I'm going 1-0 Wrexham this one. Say 1-0. 1-0 Town. In fact, you know what? No, I'm going to go 2-0 Town. Why not? Ever the optimist. And then, you know what? I'll start with this one. Northampton at home. 3-0. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling frivolous on this Sunday night.
Terrorist hoofball football, 3-0.
We've got Gil-peen and Andrew 3-0 on the other side.
Yeah, that's it. And we've not conceded in those all 3 games for the men and the women there. We're not conceding the goal. I'm going very bold.
We've got a win at home. The wheels are going to come off at some point at home, but I don't see it being against Northampton. I think it'll be a bit twitchy, but I think we'll run out handsome 4-1 winners. And former Wales international and Leeds superstar, or one-time Leeds superstar, Tyler Roberts will score for Northampton. Can't believe he's at Northampton. Crazy.
I mean, 4-1 is basically the poor man's 3-0, Tim. Come on, be more inventive.
It is, but you've got to give him something because it's going to be that fluid and we're going to dominate possession but we're going to get caught in the counter-attack and they'll score later on. So yeah, 4-1. The poor man's 3-0.
Andy, your Northampton prediction?
I think we're going to win, but I think it's going to be tough. I think it's another one where we might eke it out, but I think Mullin might come good in that game, and I'm hoping for a 2-1.
Okay, right. So that is that. You've heard that here. This is kind of bringing things to an end. Of course, go and check out the newsletter if you don't already. Again, thanks to our sponsors, the Fat Ball Group, the Fat Boy Mold, Wrexham, Hill Street Social, Carnivore, FA's, My Square, The Book in Bangor and D, and Croyce Howell. Rich Watkin is
ruining my voice. You're such a company man, Pollard. You're such a company.
Yeah, you get an extra commission for this.
Usually we half the time we forgot to even mention the Fat Ball,
exactly.
And now you're reeling off all the restaurants.
He needs to pay us more money for the sponsorship, since we're giving him the reel of all of his other businesses. This is outrageous.
This podcast runs at 60 minutes most of the time, and I would say 7 minutes of that is you reading off all these pubs.
Wait until he buys somewhere else and it goes up to 8 minutes. Well, no, I thought it was just the general Fat Ball Group. So, and to be fair, somebody did actually genuinely say to me at the My Squint the other day, I wish when you say the Fat Ball Group, you'd reel off all of them properly. So there we go. I'm doing that.
Was that person Rich Watkin?
It actually was not. It wasn't.
He's in his room. He's out of camera. He's the one that's doing all of Pollard's lighting. That's what.
Yeah, he's through there. He's stroking my cat, and that's not a euphemism. Right. With that, I believe that is.
Tie you back on the radiator like Terry Waite.
Jesus.
Why? We do
right. this, if there's not a perfect way to end things, and this is certainly that. It's almost like Andy Gil-peen's got to go off and do something else in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I have. I've got to go and talk TV to talk to Mark Saggers.
And that's clearly a way to end that naturally. Right. Okay. So this has been the latest episode of Feels and Devotion. Thank you, Tiff. Thank you, Andy. Myself, Andrew Pollard. Everybody listening, be well, be good. And don't listen too much to Andy Gil-peen.
And cheers, Terry, and all that. Yeah, all the listeners. Thanks very much. All the best.
See you guys.